Welcome everyone to Lucha Lore, where I explain to you the stories of pro wrestling. Now whether you are a first-time viewer, or a filthy casual, or one of those die-hard smarks, doesn't matter. Sit down, relax, and get ready to hear the story of Lucha Underground. So, we're going to dive right into Lucha Underground Season 1 and break down this entire show. And I watch a lot of different wrestling shows, as you know.
Yes.
And this is by far my favorite one, because it's got the right amount of mixture of great action, a lot of like really ridiculous, over-the-top, like soap opera type storytelling. Mm-hmm. So you got like a lot of really wacky shit that couldn't happen in New Japan, which is a great purist pro wrestling show. But this has like all sorts of things that are like betrayal and 100 grand and ancient Aztec medallions. So let's get into the madness right away. At the very beginning we have the temple, which is where all this takes place. So instead of this going around to like different places in the world, which a lot of other wrestling shows do, this has one location. We're set in the temple. Yes.
So this is where the ring is at?
Yes, the ring is in the temple.
Okay.
And right in the middle of the ring is a symbol. It's similar to this. It's like a big Aztec face. And it is like an Aztec seal itself. It has like this ancient Aztec magic in it.
Ooh.
And through the Aztec magic, there's like some sort of like crazy conspiracy going on, because the owner of the temple is this guy named Dario Cueto. And he has some sort of link to the ancient Aztec tribes. And he seems to be using the magic in the ancient Aztec seal through these wrestling matches to conspire towards some sort of grand destiny. It's very mysterious. And it involves the 7 Aztec tribes.
Okay.
So, and these are represented by these sort of images that we get a little bit later on, and there's a little bit more that I'll delve into as to like where we get these images and why, but let me just tell you what these 7 Aztec tribes are really quick, just so we can get a better image of what the lore of this world is.
Okay.
Because in Lucha Underground, there's like stuff that's been happening for hundreds and thousands of years before we even get to episode 1. Like, this is in the lore, it's just a very ancient conflict.
Okay.
So we have like the Eagle tribe, we have the Moth tribe, the Serpent tribe, the Jaguar tribe, the Deer tribe, the Rabbit tribe, and then there's a 7th tribe, but this one's sort of up for debate as to what it actually represents, because we have the symbol, and we've had a couple references in the show that say that the Cueto tribe is a tribe, which I'm not sure exactly what that would translate to, but there's also been a couple of mentions of a Death tribe. So we're not sure whether these are one and the same, or if this is a writing loophole. Yes.
So do we know that Dario Cueto is part of that tribe?
Dario Cueto on many occasions has said that he is part of the Cueto tribe. Like, He said stuff like that.
Okay.
But like, because all the other ones have like a specific animal connotation, it just seems weird that one would just be called Cueto. Mm-hmm. Although there is a strong association between the Cueto family and the bull. As we see. So Dario, his main place that he occupies is the office, which is right next to the ring. And he makes all the matches from there. So wrestlers will come in with their grievances and talk shit, and then he will basically manipulate all the people into fighting each other, because he, in his own words, loves violence. So he just loves to pit these guys against each other, because it satiates his sadistic love for violence, it makes him money, and it's also fueling some sort of like ancient mystic shit. So it's like all these things together is what Lucha Underground and the temple is. Like, this is what Dario's doing.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Sounds very Lex Luthor-esque.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
He's Lex Luthor with a hotter temper. For sure.
And an accent.
And an accent. Oh, so another important thing to point out really quickly, actually, about Dario Cueto is because the temple is located in a place called Boyle Heights, California. So it's really, really southern California, right up near the Mexican border. So a lot of Mexican luchadors come up into here, so there's kind of that American-Mexican flavor together. But Dario Cueto is Spanish. So he's got that imperial background, so a lot of Mexicans do not like him.
Yep.
So he's kind of got that upper crust, he's a dick.
Okay. So Dario Cueto, he's the guy in charge.
So because he's also Spanish, that's the other thing that's like, well, but then is he an Aztec tribe though?
Ooh,
so that's kind of why people are like, but maybe it's the Death tribe. So that's why this is very kind of up for question right now. But the rest are pretty pretty solid at this point.
Okay.
After several seasons in. Because in the first season, we don't even see really... We get to see one representative of the Moth tribe, but he doesn't really do anything.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get to see anybody from the Rabbit tribe, or at least we don't find out. There is a character that is a part of the Rabbit tribe in season 1, but we don't find out that he's a part of the Rabbit tribe until season 4.
Oh.
So, very up
Okay.
and down, convoluted. Anyway, so, this is the background that we're going into for the temple and Lucha Underground in its setting.
Okay.
Episode 1, we have, the very first match is Chavo Guerrero Jr., who comes from a line in Mexican wrestling. The Guerrero family is a really prominent wrestling family. And Chavo is, like, known to, like, the Guerrero family is known for good things and also for bad things.
Okay.
And Chavo especially is the leading into the bad things. Like, he's a cheat, he's a scoundrel, he'll kind of do whatever it takes, and people don't like him.
Okay.
And he's going up against Blue Demon Jr., who is a very classic style luchador. Like, he actually wears a mask. He's like a celebrated Mexican wrestler. He's a lot older. He's a legend. And you can tell he's got a little bit of miles on him, but they have the very first match ever in Lucha Underground. Dario promotes this as like the big kind of callback to tradition.
Yes.
And Blue Demon Jr. wins this match, which really pisses off Chavo Guerrero. Like, yet again, he's failed his family, losing the first ever match in the temple of Lucha Underground. So he goes away and he's pissed. He's going to get his vengeance eventually on Blue Demon Jr. Like, he's skulking in the shadows sort of thing. Yes.
So are either of these guys associated with the tribes? Or are they just like...
No.
Okay.
No, because there's a lot of other people that are in this that are not associated with any of the tribes.
Okay.
Actually, the majority of the wrestlers who come in are not directly associated with any of the tribes.
Okay.
But Blue Demon Jr. would definitely be associated with that sort of more traditional wrestling culture.
Yes.
Although
so he's a luchador.
He is a luchador, although this is just sort of like an extension off of that luchador culture to an extreme.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sort of calling to what the sort of symbological idea behind the masks are, because the mask is sort of like the ancient head, and it like represents who you are in this greater character, and then in the wrestling culture, if you lose the mask, then it's the same as if an ancient Aztec warrior got your head cut off.
Ooh, okay.
Sort of thing. So it's very sacred sort of idea.
That's gory.
Yeah. Anyway, so remember that because we're going to get back to that later. Anyway, so episode 1, we had the first match. The main event of the very first episode, we get to Prince Puma, who is the local kind of underground Rocky type hero. He comes in, he's got this mentor guy named Conan, who we get a little bit of background that Conan is sort of a bit of an asshole, like he's a bit of a trickster and a liar, so we don't know whether he's 100% beneficial for Puma or not, or if he's like trying to manipulate this guy. Maybe he's just trying to take advantage of the really naturally talented kid, right?
Yeah.
So we're not quite sure exactly what that relationship is, but they come in together, and they're coming up against the sort of biggest establishment, biggest star that Lucha Underground has, which is Johnny Mundo. He's a guy who's had success in WWE and has recently left, and he's coming in as, like, he knows he's hot shit. He's the one who's been pulling in most of the viewers because he's the marquee name
Okay.
for the show. So these two go at it. Yes.
Is Johnny Mundo a good guy or a bad guy?
He's a good guy.
So it's good guy and good guy.
Yes, this is good guy versus good guy. That does happen sometimes. Actually, also bad guy versus bad guy happens in Lucha Underground.
Ooh. Okay.
It's
So
very varied.
got it. Good guy
Yes.
versus good guy.
Yeah, so coming into this match, this is face versus face, as it's called in biz. But it's definitely, there's still a strict sort of underdog versus stronger guy storyline, or veteran. Because Puma is the underground going up against, he's the underdog from the underground. Going up against Johnny Mundo. Did it all just click now?
Yes.
Anyway, so he is Lucha-ing from the underground. So, the other background context to this match that's really important is that Dario Cueto has announced that he is going to be giving $100,000 to the wrestler who impresses him the most in the first episode. So all the people who've been wrestling are all trying to really impress him and put on a show. And pretty clearly, though, whoever wins the main event probably is going to be getting this. So these two are fighting tooth and nail. They put on a pretty great match. Johnny Mundo beats Prince Puma in the very first episode of Lucha Underground. So Dario Cueto comes out, looks like he's going to congratulate Johnny Mundo, celebrate the first episode of Lucha Underground, things seem grand, but then Dario Cueto comes out with his goons, He's got this guy Big Rick, who is like 6'6" something, like 400 pound giant dude, and then a bunch of little goons beneath him. They come in, they attack Johnny Mundo and Prince Puma, and Dario Cueto, of course, in true heel fashion, decides he's keeping the money, and so
what
we have
a jerk.
So we have immediately the true heel of the show, Dario Cueto, announcing that he is going to be just a complete asshole who manipulates everybody, and he's got his own crew to protect him, so if you want to fuck with me, come and try it. So, of course, coming out of this, Prince Puma and Johnny Mundo are like, well, fuck this guy. We're not going to get him away with this. We both think that he owes us $100,000. So they start going after him, and of course, he sends Big Rick and the goons after them, because not going to fight. I'm management. I'm not going to fight you, sort of thing. So first Johnny Mundo gets a crack at Big Rick. He's not able to beat him because the goons come in, numbers game, just take him out. Puma tries to go at him, and similar type of things about to happen, and Mundo's about to come in there and try to save him, even the odds, but he fucks it up and accidentally knocks out Puma with the chair. And Puma loses the match. So now they're going at each other, which is really, really bad because they ultimately know that the only way they can win is to work together, which, with a little bit of coaching from Conan, they kind of realize, like, alright, we need to work together, and they do. They do team up, they beat Big Rick and the crew, which sets up the $100,000 ladder match.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
So, at this point, they're like, alright, we've had enough. Dario, you've got to put up the money, like, you owe it to us. And they've beaten the crew in a tag team match. So it's triple threat, because Rick also, at this point, he's been doing enough work. Like, he's beat both of these guys. He's like, these goons don't do shit. I'm the one who's doing all the work. So if I win, I want to get the $100,000. So Rick at this point is starting to break a little bit away from Dario. He's becoming his own sort of independent mercenary entity. This is, remember, like the giant dude.
Yes.
So they have the triple threat ladder match. All three of those guys are going for it themselves. Big Rick, Johnny Mundo, Prince Puma. Johnny Mundo wins the $100,000.
Ooh.
So he wins the ladder match. And then Dario comes out and he's like, all right, Johnny, be a gentleman. You beat me, like I sent my best at you, you finally did it. And then Johnny Mundo's like, fuck you, clocks him. So, Dario's out for, maybe about a week. He just kind of gets knocked out. Now, a bunch of other characters sort of come into the show before we get into the next piece. And these are people from not only Mexico, but from like all around the world. America as well. Trying to think of like another really prominent country, but it's really just Mexico and America for the most part. But the most important people coming in, we have, well, that's not even true, because let me explain. These people are not even just coming from real places. These people are coming from like supernatural places.
Ooh.
Because we have Mil Muertes. He's a guy who, technically, he was a kid. He was a Mexican little kid, and there was an earthquake. It collapsed a building, and he died in the earthquake, but then resurrected from the dead in it, and he's died and been reborn 1,000 times. Hence his name, Mil Muertes, is 1,000 deaths.
He's died 1,000 times since he was a kid.
It's kind of ambiguous.
Okay.
But he's died a lot of times, and he's undead. The thing that keeps him alive is this undead priestess woman named Katrina. She has this magic stone that she uses to kind of direct him around, and then whenever he defeats people, then she licks them and takes their essence.
Ew. That's so gross.
It's awesome. But it's so good. So then she stores up the power and whatnot, and their biggest rival, at least especially coming out of the bat, is Phoenix. Phoenix is a guy from Mexico. He represents the Eagle tribe. So he's actually a guy who's directly associated with the tribe. Mil Muertes is has been associated with an argued death tribe. That's kind of where this theory comes in, because there's a couple times where Katrina mentions a death tribe. So it's sort of up in the air on that one. Anyway, so they get to a point where they're fighting Phoenix, and it's a sort of a classic battle of the forces of death versus the force of life and resurrection. Because Phoenix, that's kind of his thing, is he can't die. We get a little bit of a wrinkle into their history between the two, because we find out that actually when Katrina was alive, because Katrina is an undead priestess sort of thing, she's like a ghost. So she was alive a long, long time ago. And when she was alive, apparently her and Phoenix were lovers.
Oh.
So there's this whole complicated thing of like she hates Phoenix because Phoenix is like the biggest threat to Mil Muertes, but she also loves him because they used to be together. And so he has a little bit of a soft spot for her, even though he knows that she's the key to his power. So there's a little bit of complicated relationship with that whole thing right there. Yes.
So this is how guys can watch a romantic drama. If you just put enough fighting in it, then it's okay.
Exactly, yes. You have to have more fighting, and the fighting has to be of a certain caliber. Like, it has to be something like pro wrestling or like really crazy, like the Marvel movies. Like,
okay.
You gotta
Okay, got it. So we got a love triangle going on.
Yes, exactly. We have a very weird love triangle going on there. Some other people who come in, we've got Drago, who is a man who, within the confines of the temple, is a wrestler who looks kind of like a dragon. He's got scales on. He's got this like long tongue thing that he does. But outside of the temple, he like constantly can like breathe fire and like can fly and stuff like that.
What?
So Drago is a case that seems to show that like the temple directly seems to limit a lot of the supernatural powers of these characters. That like however powerful they may be, the temple somehow brings them down to a certain level, like makes them almost human.
Okay.
Because yeah, Drago outside of the temple, we see him a couple times throughout the season. Like outside of the temple's confines, he breathes fire, but he doesn't do that in the matches. He can also like fly, but he doesn't do that in the matches, obviously. But he does have wings as part of his costume. Like he's very cool. He's like Batman plus a dragon. Because he's very dark.
Dragon Man.
Yes, exactly. He's Dragon Man. And he goes up against his main rival in season 1, or at least one of them, is King Cuerno, who represents the Deer tribe. Oh, actually, also I should mention, Drago represents the Serpent tribe, but unwittingly.
Oh.
This is something we've learned much later in the show, but he served the Serpent tribe long ago in sort of like captivity.
Huh, okay.
Anyway, but King Cuerno is a proud member of the Deer tribe, and he is the hunter. His whole conflict. So he comes out, when he comes out, he's got like a giant deer head on top of his head, and then he like mounts that on the side of the ring, and he always talks about sort of watching his opponents, and once he's kind of got them in his crosshairs, you have nothing you're going to be able to do about it. You're done. So he comes in, he sees Drago as like his quarry. This is prey for the predator to hunt.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's kind of dragon slay.
Yes, exactly. He's trying to slay the dragon.
Got
exactly. It. Although there's somebody later on who will, in season 2, try to take the moniker of Dragon Slayer. So come back to that later.
Okay.
But yes, King Cuerno is the original one trying to slay the dragon. So they've got that dynamic going on. Some other people who are really important are Pentagon Jr., who is this strange like ghost man. He talks about like he's got a very like Japanese sort of look to him. Also, he's got like a sort of like death look. So he's like black and white. He's got a mask on, so he looks like an undead sort of like ghost, like a Gengar. But then he's got like Japanese letters all over everything. But he speaks in Spanish.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's like really badass and cool, but also really weird at the same time. He keeps coming in. He attacks like a lot of the lower guys on the cards, and then when he beats them, he just breaks their arm.
Oh dang.
And then he starts doing this whole thing where he's like sacrificing these people to his master. So like he'll get somebody after the match. Yes.
Who's his master?
That is a big question for the entire season because he doesn't really tell us a lot about his master, other than the fact that he likes broken arms.
Oh, mystery. Okay.
Yeah. But he keeps talking about this mysterious master, his maestro. And he's sacrificing people to him because he has cero miedo, zero fear.
Ooh.
And so he eventually then runs into Sexy Star, who is the one who stands up against the bullies. She, in her backstory, she was in an abusive relationship, but then she stood up against her husband and was like, fuck you, I'm done with this, and like got out of the relationship, and she's all like, yay for now, and yay for then. She ended up doing a really, really bad thing in wrestling. She like actually hurt somebody in the middle of a match one time, so she's like, she's bad now. But back then, she was awesome. Yay!
Yay!
Yeah, she was standing up for her rights and standing up for the people getting their arms broken. And so she counters Pentagon Jr., standing up to the bully kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of these characters sort of floating around in the universe, and a lot of other ones, but these are a lot of the most important ones. After the 100 grand is lost by Dario, he realizes he needs a new prize to put out there, just kind of like keep a lot of these fighters in line and also have, bring some legitimacy to his temple and his fighting ring. He needs a prize. So he creates the Lucha Underground title, which he is going to put at stake in Aztec warfare. Yes.
What's the name of the title?
It is the Lucha Underground title.
Oh, that's okay.
Yep. That is the name
He's not very clever.
Well, there's another one that comes on later, which is way more clever.
Okay.
But we'll get to that. But yeah, the Lucha Underground title. That's kind of like a thing in wrestling. Usually you name your title after your promotion. Like, that's just kind of the way that it is. Like WWE, there's the WWE title. In New Japan, actually that's a little bit different because it's the IWGP, the Inter Wrestling Grand Prix. Like, that's just sort of how it goes. You name your main title after your promotion.
Alright.
Anyway.
Not cute, but okay.
No, but it looks good because it has this real cool like Aztec gold flavor to it.
Uh-huh.
And we get to see the first crowning of this championship happens in Aztec Warfare, which is a killer fucking match.
Mm.
So this isn't just one guy fights one guy. And this isn't also even just like the Royal Rumble where there's 30 guys in the ring and you just have to throw people over the top rope to win. No. Aztec Warfare, 20 guys in the ring, and the only way you get out of this match is pinfall or submission, and everything is legal.
Whoa.
So you can double team people, you can hit people with chairs, you can throw them off ladders, you can throw them through tables.
Good grief.
Other people can come into the match and fuck people up who aren't even part of the match. So one of the people who comes back in this match is Blue Demon Jr. Because Chavo Guerrero, after being upset that he lost that first match, he kind of took out Blue Demon Jr. behind the scenes a little bit. And Blue Demon Jr. comes back in this match and he fucks up Chavo Guerrero, and that's how Chavo loses in this match.
Woo!
But yeah, we've got everybody in Aztec Warfare just going balls to the wall, trying to win the Lucha Underground Championship. And when it's all over and said and done, Prince Puma is crowned the first Lucha Underground champion. The hometown boy, he's got it. So he immediately is starting to have to defend his title, because Dario is just sending guys after him, one after. Because he's not a big fan of Puma. Like, he likes that Puma makes him money and he likes that he's a good athlete, but he doesn't like that Puma has Conan in his ear. Because Conan can make sure that, like, he's not getting properly manipulated by Dario.
Yeah. Because
almost everybody else in the temple doesn't really have, like, a good manager or somebody whispering in their ear. Other than, obviously, Katrina manipulating Mil Muertes. There's that, but, like, everybody else is sort of, like, manipulated by Dario quite a lot. Like, whenever they want something, he just says, like, oh, well, if you want this thing, you should go beat up this person. And they're like, oh, okay, great, I'll go do that. But, like, Conan really helps kind of mitigate that. So Dario really does not like Puma because he can't control Puma very well.
Mm-hmm.
So he keeps sending guys after him. And most notably, the first guy that he really sends after him, is the big threat, is this guy who comes in, Cage.
Ooh.
Now, Cage is a dude who is, like, steroids in a person.
What?
Like, he's just jacked beyond all reason.
Oh dear.
One of his many nicknames is the Swolverine. And he also, his catchphrase is, I'm not a man, I'm a machine.
Okay.
So Cage comes in, and Cage is just like he's like a Conan-type psychotic rage monster. And he's beating the shit out of Prince Puma, and he actually takes the Lucha Underground title and rips it, like, just physically destroys it.
Oh, dang.
So then Dario has to get a second Lucha Underground title, which is even stronger than the first one. And they go at it a couple different times. Puma ends up, there's one match where they're going at it, and Conan ends up kind of throwing in the towel, and then he ends up, like, getting Puma disqualified, which gets Cage even, like, more pissed, because it's like, you know, I know that I can beat you, like, your manager just gave up on you. And this leads to, or their culmination is like a Boyle Heights street fight is what it's called, because Cage is also from California, so they really build up this whole, like, hometown thing, because Puma is California, but he's also, like, specifically Boyle Heights. So they go to the Boyle Heights street match, or Boyle Heights street fight, and Puma is able to beat Cage. He takes advantage of, like, the fact that you can use anything, like, he uses a lot of weapons to overcome the fact that Cage is a lot bigger than him.
Yep.
And so, hometown boy keeps the title.
Okay.
Yes.
Woo!
Oh, look like you had a question.
Oh, no.
No, okay. So, in the background here, we've got a couple other things that are starting to stir. Got a couple little betrayals. So, coming out of the failures in Aztec warfare, because a lot of people really wanted to win the Lucha Underground Championship that did not. One of them most notably being Mil Muertes. Mil Muertes and Katrina, like their whole thing was, look, we're beating all these people up, we're gathering all this power, and the point was to get the Lucha Underground Championship and to control the temple and do all this shit. So Mil Muertes is getting very upset with Katrina, thinking that, like, she's using him. So then yes.
But isn't she kind of?
Yes.
Okay.
So he's getting wise to what's going on. So that's part of the interesting thing about it, is like, we start to sympathize with Mil a little bit. Because it's like, yeah, he's waking up to the fact that he's just using him as a puppet. So he's trying to resist against her control, and then she is like, I'm not having this shit. So she goes and finds Phoenix.
Her other lover.
Yes.
Okay.
And then she orchestrates a match, like manipulating both sides, like, oh, well, yeah, because Mil Muertes starts actually attacking Katrina, and then Phoenix, like, saves her. And then she's like, oh, well, you know, maybe if you kill Mil Muertes, then we could be together again. Sort of thing. You could save my soul. So Phoenix and Mil Muertes have a death match.
Okay. Well, whoa, what's a death match?
Death match is the loser goes in a coffin and is dead.
What?
Phoenix kills Mil Muertes, puts him in a coffin, he's gone. Now, that sounds bad, but consider this. Mil Muertes is a guy who's died like a bajillion times. So for him, this is probably like every other week. However, for now, it seems like it's a big deal because he's gone for a while.
Yeah.
And then
so that must give Phoenix time to cuddle up to Mil Muertes' bow or whatever.
You would think,
Katrina.
But Katrina's a lying bitch, and she doesn't really get with him at all. Like, and it doesn't really save her soul. Like it.
Snubbed.
Yeah. Yeah, because she's evil to the core. Like she's super manipulative. There's a lot of other people like. We'll get into the other episodes, other things that she's done, but yeah, the main one here, her relationship with Phoenix, she really manipulates him in this one. Gets him to kill Mil Muertes, and we'll come back to that as to there's another part of the ruse.
Ooh.
So, another betrayal. Big Rick really wanted the Lucha Underground Championship. He's like this, pretty much arguably the biggest guy in the temple as far as like actual size.
Bigger than the machine guy?
That's close.
Okay.
Very big debate, I don't know. Anyway, and he's got the goon squad with him. He's like, so what the fuck? Now, Dario is also very pissed at his failings, because he's like been giving these guys advantages in matches and things like that. So on both sides, there's just a lot of frustration of like, somebody's to blame, something needs to happen. The way this ends up cracking down is that then the goon squad, aka the crew, turn on Big Rick. And they pin him down, take a cigar, which Big Rick has always smoked a big cigar, and they burn out his eye.
What?
So then now Big Rick is a giant, scary man with one eye. He's like a pirate man. And he's also not part of the crew. He's out for a little bit, but then he comes back as just like an independent guy.
Well, I would hope you would not join back up with the guys who burn out your eye.
No, well he comes back and he like fucks them up.
Okay.
Like that's his next trajectory. He comes back and he's like, well, you guys burn out my eye? Fuck you. And he actually beats them in a 3-on-1 handicap match.
Whoa.
So, yeah, he's not a guy to mess with. And the other one that comes out of this is sort of a potential betrayal. We're really not sure where this is going yet, but somebody comes back from the past. There's this guy named Hernandez who used to have an association with Prince Puma's mentor Conan. He used to like be his like former protege sort of thing, is like the backstory that we get hinted at. Mm-hmm. And Hernandez keeps coming in. He is more easily able to beat a couple of guys that Puma had a lot more of a struggle in beating. So we started to get this little bit of an idea that like maybe Conan's going to start wavering in his loyalty if he thinks that Hernandez is a more stable, like if he thinks that Hernandez could beat Prince Puma in a match, then maybe he would start managing Hernandez instead of ditch Prince Puma. Like, we start to get that sort of hint that like his loyalty to Puma is only because Puma is talented.
Okay.
That right once he loses, he jump ship. And we start to get the build up to like who's going to be the next contender for the Lucha Underground Championship, because we got a lot of like worthy contenders out there. Most notably, one of them coming in from Mexico. Alberto El Patron comes into the scene. Now, most people recognize him as Alberto Del Rio from WWE fame, and he at this point had like just recently left WWE. He went down to Mexico for a little bit, and he won their biggest title, actually, the AAA Heavyweight Championship.
Mm-hmm.
And he is coming into Lucha Underground as like a babyface at this time, which is kind of odd. Like, he's normally sort of like a perennial heel, sort of douchebag, but he's actually rocking sort of this like independent, like, I'm my own man, but I'm also a noble aristocrat babyface. Yes.
I just find that really hard to believe. He's very sinister looking.
Yeah, it's a hard sell, but like weirdly enough, it was working in this context, kind of.
Okay.
But anyway, so he comes in, he beat their former champion, and their champion follows him to Lucha Underground, and they have a championship match under Lucha Underground. So it's actually a different promotion's title.
Mm-hmm.
So you got Alberto Patron, he beats this guy again to keep his title, sort of like really establishing who has a strong presence here in Lucha Underground. And we get to see a lot of his past. We get to see reference to him and Johnny Mundo. They were in WWE together. They don't specifically say WWE, but they talk about like, hey, you know, we fought a lot in the past, and there's this idea that, you know, Johnny Mundo's never really gotten the big win. Like, he's never been the world championship, or never been the world champion, and that in the past, Alberto has beaten him.
Uh-huh.
And so he says, like, you know, I'm the guy you can't beat, sort of thing. And then Johnny Mundo's like, fuck off, dude. I'm the face of Lucha Underground. This is my place. You can't just come in here and then start trying to run the place. So Johnny Mundo started to get really insecure because, like, he's here, and he beat Prince Puma on the first episode, but he didn't win Aztec Warfare. He didn't win the Lucha Underground Championship.
Uh-huh.
So he's in this kind of rough state right now, and he actually just got off of there. Was a little bit of a feud. So after he clocked Dario, back when he got the $100,000,
Uh-huh.
Dario ended up hiring King Cuerno, the hunter,
Yes.
to go in after Mundo. So they had a bit of a feud there, so that kind of sidetracked him. And he eventually did get the win over Cuerno. They had a big cage match, pretty solid. But Mundo's coming out of that. So Mundo's got some momentum. He beat King Cuerno. Alberto El Patron has beaten Tejano, who was the guy he was fighting back in Mexico.
Okay.
So now these two fight each other.
Uh-huh.
Dario sets these two against each other and says, like, all right, let's find out who's better between you two, and it's going to be a #1 contendership for the Lucha Underground Championship.
Ooh, so stakes are high.
Stakes are fucking high.
Okay.
Alberto El Patron beats Johnny Mundo. Johnny Mundo's fucking crushed.
Oh dear.
So Alberto El Patron's like all excited, like, holy shit, here we go, we're going to get the championship match, and it's like champion versus champion too, so this is kind of a weird dynamic. Then Dario Cueto, as Dario Cueto tends to do, reveals, actually, we're going to have another #1 contendership match. Alberto El Patron, it's not over. You know, I've been seeing this guy Hernandez recently, and he's been pretty impressive. I think I'm going to have you two fight. And the #1 contender will be the one who wins that match. So then, Alberto Patron versus Hernandez, they're going at it.
So, Alberto basically has to then defend his right to be the #1 contender.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Dario likes to, like, right when you think you've got something, Dario reveals, like, oh, you don't have it quite yet.
What a jerk.
Yeah, he's like that. So, as he's trying to fight for this, Johnny Mundo comes out. He takes Alberto Patron. He throws his ass through the window of Dario Cueto's office. Like, just fucks him up. Like, totally turns heel. Like, doesn't care about the audience anymore. Doesn't, like, he's gonna do anything it takes to win anymore. He's so pissed that he's not the #1 contender. So he takes it out. Hernandez wins. So then we're gonna get Hernandez versus Prince Puma for the Lucha Underground Championship. And this is where we really see the ultimate test of Conan's loyalty, because he's just sitting there kind of like, I'm not going to help either guy, like, let's just see what happens. And Prince Puma, to his credit, does beat Hernandez. He overcomes the big brother character.
Yep.
You have the guy who's been there before, and he really establishes himself as the guy. Now, going a little bit further on, we see there's a new character that gets introduced backstage. Because Dario has been running things from his office, but we also see that there's a little bit more to the underground of Lucha Underground. And there's a person, Black Lotus, who comes in, this like ninja assassin character. She sneaks into the basement, and we see that there's some sort of like monster or giant person, something like caged up in a room. Because we don't get to see inside the cage, we just get to see the bars, and we get to hear a lot of like moaning and groaning.
Mysterious.
Very mysterious. Black Lotus, this ninja woman, says that her purpose in life is to kill this person, this thing behind the bars.
Huh.
And she says that this thing is Dario Cueto's brother.
What?
Yes. So, we also get a little bit more information about Black Lotus. She serves this person named El Dragon Azteca. Now, El Dragon Azteca is associated with the Eagle tribe.
Okay.
And he is sort of like some sort of off-screen, like, force for good. He's like a good guy in this, like, ultimate, like, lucha mystical war going on. Yes.
Who else was part of the Eagle tribe?
Phoenix.
Phoenix
Is part of the Eagle tribe.
Okay.
Yes. Also, like, Prince Puma, obviously, Jaguar tribe.
Yep.
Anyway, going back to this. So, Dragon Azteca has told her, and she knows that whoever this person is that she wants to kill is responsible for the death of her parents. So she's out for revenge against Cueto's brother, who's inside of this cage. And so she's lurking around in the shadows. Now, what happens is, because obviously she's got a very clear goal, so she's not going to be like fucking around. But she gets discovered by somebody who needs a favor. She gets discovered by Chavo Guerrero, who, after Blue Demon Jr. comes back, like, Chavo Guerrero's in some deep shit with quote-unquote Mexico, as they call it on the show, like, sort of like the Mexican, like, government or mob, or just, they just say Mexico is angry with you.
So some sort of mysterious faction in Mexico.
Yeah, people who are associated with Blue Demon Jr., people who are Mexican, are mad at Chavo Guerrero. So, Chavo Guerrero needs protection, and he finds it in the form of Dario Cueto. Dario Cueto decides to protect him because Chavo Guerrero captures Black Lotus for him. Saying like, hey, I found her lurking around, I know that she wants to do you some harm and shit.
So protect me.
So protect me, give me a good spot. And then he ends up being the guy who, like, basically fills in Big Brick's spot as sort of like the new semi-leader of the crew.
Okay.
So that whole situation goes on, and the next situation for the crew, or the next job that the crew is given, is to win Dario's new piece of gold that he introduces, the Trios tournament. So he introduced the Lucha Underground Trios Championships.
Okay.
So instead of having 2 people on a team, you have 3. And in typical Dario fashion, he decides to put people together, not who would work together or know each other well. He puts together people who are enemies, who don't like each other, in this tournament to work together.
Because he likes drama.
He loves drama. And he loves violence. So he puts together his own crew, of course, in there, and they get advantages, but everybody else is just people that don't like each other.
Yeah.
Most notably is the Unlikely Trio. So this is composed of the Son of Havoc, who's like a biker guy, and he wears a mask, and his Puerto Rican girlfriend named Ivelisse. And for a good long while in the beginning of Lucha Underground here, Son of Havoc is unfortunately going on a losing streak. Like, he just can't buy a win, no matter what he does. And this is the point where then Ivelisse is starting to be like, alright, look, I don't even know if you're even a man anymore. Like, I'm questioning you. Like, she's getting real, like, ball stompy with him.
Yeah.
And it's not a good look. This culminates in a guy named Angelico, who comes into the temple, and he's like a real, like, Spanish playboy sort of guy. Like, he's very attractive, very, like, good-looking, very happy-go-lucky. So he comes in, and it's very much like, oh, well, he's cute, sort of thing. And he's, like, flirting with Ivelisse and stuff like that, kind of getting under Son of Havoc's skin. Yeah.
So we have another love triangle.
We have another love triangle.
Okay.
Yes. But this one, like, Ivelisse is not into him. Like, she's not into him in that, like, she doesn't want to be with him. All of it's doing is just undermining her relationship with Son of Havoc.
Okay.
So she keeps getting more and more fed up with him, and Helico beats Son of Havoc in a match. And Ivelisse is like, you know what? Fuck you. You're such a loser. I bet you I could beat the guy that you can't even beat. So Ivelisse has a match with Angelico, and Angelico does fuck around a little bit. Like, he's trying to, like, flirt with her and kind of fuck with both of them psychologically a little bit. And she does beat him. And Ivelisse beats Angelico.
Ooh, yeah! So female power!
So this leads to a rematch against it, because Son of Havoc is like, look, I am a man. Fuck you, Ivelisse. I could prove it. And so then gets a rematch with Angelico. This time, Son of Havoc beats Angelico, and then he afterwards breaks up with Ivelisse. Because he's like, look, I am a man. I proved it. And I don't appreciate you, like, just being a bitch to me all the time.
Well, good for him!
So,
woo!
Exactly. Like, it's nice. Like, he's standing up for himself. Immediately after this happens is when these 3 are put into a trios team together.
Uh-oh.
So it's the fresh ex and then the guy who came in and kind of like helped cause the breakup. Being forced to work together as a trio. So they are thrust together into the trios tournament. And they're going up against, they overcome the unlikely odds. They're beating guys who are a lot bigger than them. And they come to, in the end, of course, it's them versus Dario's crew.
Okay.
So the odds are stacked against them.
Yep.
And, of course, they overcome the odds. They win.
Yay!
The unlikely trio. Real babyface champions. So you've got them as the trios champions. You've got Prince Puma as the Lucha Underground championship, or Lucha Underground champion. It's a good time. But Dario, of course, is pissed that, somebody else has his gold. Not my guys. So he takes his guys down to the basement where his brother is.
Uh-oh.
And then he says, somebody has to pay for this.
Uh-oh.
You choose. And so they choose among themselves, one of them, and he goes over to the bar, and that guy gets killed. Like, the monster reaches through and then kills him. So whatever this thing is, it's clearly very deadly. And coming out of this, Dario's like, alright, we gotta get some new fresh opportunities up in this bitch. We gotta move some things along. So he introduces the Aztec medallions. And we don't really know exactly what these are for yet, but they do reflect the 7 Aztec tribes, and these are what these are. These are pictures of the things on the medallions. And he's having various matches, setting people up to fight each other for these, but he's really not told anybody what they're for yet. But he does say that they're worth like something very valuable, like great Aztec gold.
That sounds shady.
Very shady. Leading to a lot of unique opportunities, because some of these matches are hidden inside of unique opportunities, as it were, because one of them, for example, like Sexy Star, decides to have one of these matches for a medallion, and it's going to be against one of her best friends, this guy Superfly, who's also another masked wrestler.
Wait. There's a wrestler called Superfly?
Yeah, well, Superfly Snuka is a big wrestling legend. So yeah, this guy is Superfly. Anyway, so Sexy Star and Superfly get put into a match, but then right before it can start, Dario has a unique opportunity and decides to change this into a mask versus mask match.
What does that mean?
The loser loses their mask, which means that character is dead.
Oh dear.
So that is a career versus career match all of a sudden in lucha terms. So we've got Sexy Star, like all this shit, like oh my gosh, like she's this great virtuous woman. Now she has to win this match, otherwise she's done. And in doing so, she has to like kill her friend. So it's really sad, but she does. She defends her honor and her life, and she kills Superfly, which she does with like great regret. Like she doesn't like it afterwards. Like she's crying with him, holding him after the match. Like, and then another one he decides to do. So Dario decides to pit Drago. Remember the Dragon Man?
Yep. Who can fly and breathe fire, but not in the ring.
Yes. So he's goes up against another very supernatural sort of guy who his powers seem to be curbed within the temple. There's this guy Aerostar, who they decide to pit them in a best of 5 series match, which means that they're going to fight 5 times. Whoever wins the most out of those is the winner. And so Aerostar is a time-traveling spaceman.
He's a what?
Aerostar. Raise your hand next time you have a question.
What?
Yes, Aerostar is a time-traveling spaceman. And so he has a feud here with Drago. Best of 5. And the winner of this actually gets a very unique opportunity. They get to fight for the Lucha Underground Championship. They get to fight Prince Puma.
Oh,
but
dear. Okay.
If they lose, they're exiled from the temple.
Oh.
So Drago beats Aerostar, but then he fights Prince Puma, and when Prince Puma beats him, Drago's gone. So, Prince Puma is in a similar situation here with Sexy Star, where it's like he has to basically kill and beat his friends just to stay champion, stay alive.
Oh dear.
So he's feeling very conflicted and upset that he had to do that just to keep the championship. But Conan's trying to tell him, look, you gotta do what you gotta do. That's just life, buddy. Soldier on, sort of thing. So we soldier on until we get a couple of big surprise returns. Remember how I said Mil Muertes has died 1,000 times?
Yes, and he was last in the coffin because he lost that match.
Exactly. Well, he comes back with a vengeance. See, it turns out that every time that Mil Muertes dies and comes back, something with Katrina's resurrection evil magic seems to make him perhaps even stronger every time.
Ooh.
So it seems that part of her ruse in seducing Phoenix into killing Mil Muertes was all just to make Mil Muertes stronger.
Uh-huh.
See, because the solution of if Mil Muertes wasn't strong enough to get the Lucha Underground Championship in Aztec Warfare, well, we need to kill him so that he can be strong enough to win the championship.
God, well, that makes sense.
In a weird death magic, they see once you accept the lore of the world, it makes sense. There's crazy magic going on. So Mil Muertes comes back, and he fucks up Phoenix. Like throws him through a roof down into a building. Like Phoenix is not seen for a while. Like he's gone.
Yep.
Presumed dead. We got Heat coming back, so it's like a scary time. He's just like dominating the temple at this point. Also, Johnny Mundo at this point, having gotten rid of Alberto Patron, he is next in line, basically, to go out to Lucha Underground Championship. So is
he like officially the next contender?
Yeah, he does win a number one contenders match.
Okay.
And then he gets in there, and he puts together what's called an all night long match. So that's
Shook my all night long.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so it's an Iron Man match. You have a set period of time, in this case like an hour or all night long, and whoever gets the most pinfalls or submissions in that time will be the champion.
Okay.
So Johnny Mundo is just going to work on Prince Puma. Like it's definitely a match, but like he's getting the upper hand. He gets a couple of falls over Puma, and it's about 20 or so minutes into this match. He has a very steady lead. Getting very cocky, he decides to set up like a big structure of tables, like 2 or 3 tables on top of each other, like in a giant structure.
Okay.
Right in front of the stage where they have the band. Because also in Lucha Underground, they have like a band that plays over top of this like entrance area.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like a nice little touch.
Music.
So he sets all that sort of shit up, and then he goes up there and he starts playing with the band and fucking around, like celebrating prematurely about how he's going to be the champion, and finally after all these years he's going to have the validation that he's wanted. Because remember, he was never the world champion.
Yeah.
So that finally he's going to be the guy. But who should return but Alberto El Patron to fucking shit on his parade. Because he threw him through a window last time we saw him. And so now he gets his vengeance, fucks up Johnny Mundo. This gives Prince Puma enough time to recover. They battle up on top of the stage that Johnny Mundo has sort of built to his glory. And in the end, Puma tosses him off.
Oh.
Johnny Mundo falls. His hubris was his own defeat, and Prince Puma retains the championship after a couple of falls. After Mundo's just dead on the ground, so we can just pin him 2 or 3 times to get back up to what he needs to.
Yep.
So Prince Puma keeps the title. Johnny Mundo is pissed because he had it in the bag, but then it got fucked up.
Yep.
Now, we're getting really close to the end of the year here. We're building towards what's called Ultima Lucha. This is their sort of WrestleMania, their big culmination period. One of the big unresolved angles here was who the fuck is Pentagon's master? He's sacrificed so many people to this guy, and he keeps going on about it. And then eventually Yes?
This is the guy who likes the broken arms.
Yes, this is the guy who likes the broken arms. So deciding, I guess, that wrestlers are not good enough anymore, Pentagon decides that he's going to grab the arm of the announcer, Melissa Santos, who's really, she's amazing. She's a great announcer, actually, but, obviously completely innocent. She's not a wrestler.
Yep.
And he's about to break her arm, when then we see one of the commentators, one of the 2 guys from the commentary booth, who is, he's a wrestler from before. He's, been in Mexican wrestling promotion before. His name is Vampiro. He comes in and throws Pentagon off. Saves the situation, which, could just be seen as, trying to save, somebody who's innocent, just a good move, but there seems to be a little bit more of a wrinkle to it.
Ooh.
And Pentagon knows. And so he's like, you know what? Fuck you, man. I'm not done with you. I'm going to make you the ultimate sacrifice to my master. So he starts challenging Vampiro to a match. And Vampiro's like, look, I'm not doing this, man. I'm retired. I'm not doing a match
I don't
again.
do this anymore.
Pentagon decides to come after Vampiro, and it's not enough just challenging him to a straight match. He decides to amp it up to the next level and ambushes him at the commentary table, throws him out near ringside, and then starts dumping gasoline on him.
What?
And then once he's covered in gasoline, pulls out a lighter, lights it, and then says, if you don't accept my match at Ultima Lucha to be my ultimate sacrifice to my master, I will burn you alive and kill you.
Oh, good grief.
And at that point, Vampiro accepts.
Uh-huh.
So we have the match set at Ultima Lucha. The going to be the ultimate sacrifice to the secret master that we don't know about. And then, so the Gift of the Gods is the last kind of little wrinkle that also gets revealed going into Ultima Lucha here. As the Aztec medallions were not just their own kind of separate thing. They are actually building towards a grander piece. And this actually builds to my favorite belt in this company, actually my favorite belt in pro wrestling right now. The Gift of the Gods title is like a really long belt that has 7 different slots for the different medallions to go into. So in the first presenting ceremony of this, when they build the Gift of the Gods to then present it for Ultima Lucha, all the different medallion holders come and they place the medallions inside of the championship in like a big ceremony right in the middle of the temple. And then whoever wins this championship, what they get to do is they get to challenge the Lucha Underground champion whenever they want, but only once. Once that happens, then the belt is sort of like dispersed again, and then the medallions have to be reassembled, basically just like the Dragon Balls from Dragon Ball Z. You assemble them, you get one wish, then it goes away.
That's a really cool mechanic.
You assemble the medallions, and so these medallions are all won in different matches too, so all the people fighting for it are like worthy contenders. And then the best of them gets one shot at the champion. So it's a very cool kind of mechanic that gets set in here, and we get different challengers set for Ultima Lucha, one of them being Phoenix, rising from the grave.
Oh.
So, in the same way that Mil Muertes is 1,000 deaths, well, Phoenix is the Phoenix. Can resurrect from death.
He always arises from the ashes.
Exactly. And so we've got our stage set for Ultima Lucha. So we have the Secret Master gets revealed, so we have Pentagon fighting against Vampiro. He defeats him in a really big hardcore match. They've got like weapons, they've got all sorts of crazy shit going on. And then afterwards, it is revealed that, of course, Vampiro was the master all along. He was secretly Pentagon's master, guiding him from the darkness, giving him instructions. And that by defeating himself, that was the ultimate sacrificing, proving that he was the worthy student.
Wow.
So then their relationship's kind of like going to take off in the next season.
Okay.
As sort of, proper master and student. The Gift of the Gods, we have a surprise return from Phoenix, who also raises himself back from the dead, of course, having the power of death and resurrection. He is in the Gift of the Gods match, and he wins the ladder match to become the Gift of the Gods champion. So in Season 2, he'll kind of have his choice of, he gets to challenge the champion, whoever that's going to be. The Trios champions, they go up against the Disciples of Death, who are 3 sort of zombie people that Katrina has resurrected to go after the Trios champions, because Mil Muertes is going to be the one who's challenging Prince Puma for the Lucha Underground champion. So Katrina is challenging for all the championships through Mil Muertes and the Disciples of Death.
And is she still with Phoenix or whatever?
No.
No? Okay.
No. Yeah, no. She used Phoenix. Phoenix is, he's doing his own thing in the Gift of the Gods.
Okay.
That's separate. So she's sending all her people, or she's sending all of her Disciples of Death, even Mil Muertes, after the champions. One last wrinkle right before this, because they had a meeting right before the match of Prince Puma and Mil Muertes, sort of like not quite a contract signing like they'll do in WWE, but a little bit of like a meeting of the champion and challenger. Mil Muertes ended up ambushing them, and Mil Muertes and Katrina end up killing Conan. Prince Puma's like mentor guy.
Oh, dang.
So then Prince Puma's going into Ultima Lucha alone. So it's the ultimate test. Like, can he overcome death itself, Mil Muertes?
By himself, without his...
By himself, without his teacher.
Without his hype guy.
Without his teacher. Because we get a couple of... Trios champions. The Disciples of Death defeat the Trios champions. Death defeats them. Takes the Trios championships. So it looks like Katrina's going to have it all. We've got Mil Muertes going there after the Lucha Underground championship. And it's against Prince Puma. And it's the ultimate climactic final fight. And Prince Puma loses. Loses the Lucha Underground championship to Mil Muertes. Death overcomes the temple. They have the Lucha Underground championship. They have the Trios championships. It looks like all is lost. And that's how we kind of come to a close for Season 1. The actual only other sort of thing that happens in Ultima Lucha that's really important, that's not a match. So Dario is sort of trying to like get out of the situation a little bit, because it looks like Death is kind of coming to the temple.
And Death might be coming for him.
Death might be coming for him. Because remember, Black Lotus was trying to kill him and his brother.
Yep.
And stuff like that. So El Dragon Azteca shows up to try and free Black Lotus.
Yep.
So, gets her out, and they're going like, all right, we gotta go. We're gonna kill Dario. We're gonna go kill his brother and stuff like that. They find him, and then Dario reveals a new piece of information that apparently El Dragon Azteca was lying.
Uh-oh.
And says that it wasn't me. It wasn't my brother that killed your parents, Black Lotus. It was El Dragon Azteca who did it.
Dun dun dun!
And Black Lotus believes him. And Black Lotus kills El Dragon Azteca and joins Dario Cueto. And Dario and Matanza are able to, or Dario and his brother are able to get out alive. To season 2. Where death has overcome the temple.
Dang.
We'll have to find out what happens next time.
Shit. What is that gonna be?
Sometime soon.
Okay.
If you like this video, be sure to look out for when we put up Lucha Underground Season 2 Explained, which will be coming out sometime soon. And in the meantime, if you just can't get enough, then go ahead and take a listen to the Super Smark Brothers Pro Wrestling Podcast, where me and my friend Joe every week we break down WWE and NXT. We talk about Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground, New Japan Pro Wrestling. We talk about it all. Until next time, watch more wrestling.